Welcome back to Dapp University. So this just keeps happening all the time. Okay, it seems like every couple months we see a new thing come out from China about restricting people from using cryptocurrency. Over the summer, we saw, a crackdown on crypto mining in China, and then now we're seeing some more news about China actually banning cryptocurrency transactions of any kind. All right, so I'm going to break that down in this video, talk about why this is such a big deal, at least in the short term, and what you should think about this maybe in the mid to long term. All right, we'll look at that. We'll look at a lot of other news, exciting news in this space that's happened in the space since our live stream yesterday. I'll be able to do these live streams Monday through Friday on this channel, so just make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications down below. You'll find out about those whenever we go live. We're going to answer some of your questions and a lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to master blockchain step by step, start to finish, head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. Last but not least, nothing I'm saying in this video is designed to be financial advice, and there's lots of scammers around in the comment section below. Just ignore them, like I'll never give you my phone number or ask you to invest with me. So we got people jumping in the chat here. We got Automatic Beats, Culture Hives, David, Latricia, Crypto Time, Todd, Anthony, Jessica, Gurtej, hope I'm saying that right, Lee, Katarina, hope I'm saying that right. Welcome. All right, so let's jump into this first news item today, which is China widens ban on crypto transactions. Bitcoin tumbles. Nice little editorial, take there. So, anyways, we're seeing more come out of China around crypto, right? This past summer, we saw, like I said, a crackdown on crypto mining. We pushed a lot of miners offshore to other places. Hint, hint, that's typically what happens whenever you ban something inside of a country that has massive upside for citizens to participate in it. It just creates black markets and pushes things offshore. Happens all the time. So that we did see a lot of that with China and mining over the past summer. The hash rate for Bitcoin has recovered significantly since then. But now we're seeing some additional, some additional restrictions where China banned all crypto transactions and vowed to root out mining digital assets, delivering the toughest blow to the industry yet. I don't know if that's exactly true, but we see a lot of editorial commentary here. So crypto-related transactions will be considered illicit financial activity, including services provided by offshore exchanges, People's Bank of China said on its website. It added that currencies, including Bitcoin and Tether, are not fiat currency and cannot be circulated. So we're seeing this over and over and over again. Like the China Bitcoin bans or the China crypto bans have been happening for years. And so what do I think about this? I think we're going to see a short-term temporary impact on the price. That may not even extend beyond today. But in the long term, it might. But in the long term, I don't think it's really going to be that big of a deal for the overall crypto industry. So, yeah, that's what I think about this. Of course, like I said, we've seen this play out over and over and over again. And the reason I think that is because that's basically what's happened every single time. Every time something comes out with China, FUD, so to speak, it causes a short-term sort of jolt in the market, and then the market eventually recovers. Okay, so there's a lot of jokes going around about this because it seems like it's almost like Groundhog's Day. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie where he's like wake up and every day it's just like the same story over and over and over again. That's kind of like what happens with the China banning crypto. Stories like we see it multiple times per year, and it never has an enduring impact on the crypto markets. So what do y'all think down in the comment section below? Is this is this bearish for crypto long term, short term? What do you think? Somebody says the crash started about an hour before China's news, though. Yeah, up front with you 100%. Anytime crypto markets go up or down, there's typically, by a significant amount, there's typically not like one factor that's totally responsible for the price movement, right? There's typically multiple factors. That's how a market works. There's all kinds of participants inside of it that have different motivations, different goals, different, types of behavior, okay? But I think the China banning crypto is a significant factor in the price movement that we see here. Some people are saying that yeah, it's got nothing to do with it. It definitely has something to do with it. It's not necessarily the only explanation for why the market's going down. I think there's also lots of other fears, right? I think the fears about the recent price correction that we saw. I think we still have some fears about what the Fed's going to do. I don't think people are totally past the Evergrande situation, which I personally think is going to be a non-event long term. I think people are still kind of freaked out just in general about crypto and the overall economy. But I think a major factor in what's happening right now is the China news. So we can check on what's like where the cryptocurrency markets totally, are standing. So we're back down to price levels that we're not seeing in like 4 days, something like that. And even then, like these price levels, we've been here a lot. I mean, it sucks that Bitcoin has kind of lost a lot of the ground that's covered the past 90 days, but we're still kind of in this range. I mean, it's the downtrend, right? But you can still think about it somewhat like a range, kind of in between this $30,000 to $60,000 level. I'm still cautiously bullish, right? Because everything's been talking about, like, basically the adoption that we're seeing, the more capital flowing into the space, all that type of stuff. Nothing has fundamentally changed in that regard. I don't think because this China news comes out that people are like, okay, well, I'm done. Like all the big smart money. They're not saying that at all. So that's what I would say. Still cautiously bullish because otherwise, like I said, nothing's changed. In terms of how long we'll see this, it's hard to say. Right. I think a lot of what we're seeing here, like I said, if we consider this kind of like a range, right, between this like sort of $30,000 to $60,000 level, of course, like I said, you can draw a downtrend here, but if you start to think about it somewhat like a range with some sort of bounded upside or resistance, in order to break out of this range, we might need some time. All right. Who knows how long this is going to take, but if you've watched this channel and you kind of understand my thesis on it, I don't try to time things that much. I think time in the market beats timing the market. And basically, if I still have pretty high degree of confidence in the likelihood that Bitcoin's going to reach $100,000 per coin, that Ether's going to reach 10K per coin, I'm still holding on those price targets. I don't have to time it that much because I think it's going to happen sooner than the alternative of lots of other things that I could confidently put money on that would get those kinds of returns. We talked about yesterday about, kind of with what I think the probability is that we're in. Like, I think the probability that we're in a dead cat bounce to a bear market is still pretty low because of all the adoption and everything, like I'm saying. And, there's a greater likelihood that we're either in some sort of lengthening cycle or that, potentially we have some sort of kind of blow off top relatively soon on the grand scheme of things, or that we're in just like a much, much longer super cycle. I think those odds are higher than nasty bear market. I mean, another possibility is that what we're in right now is just a crab market, and that we see some other sort of bull market later. I don't really envision a future where there's no upward price movement for crypto beyond this point. Like, I don't see a future where $60,000 was the historical all-time top that Bitcoin's never going to increase above that. That's not that future does not exist in my mind. I mean, there is a possibility. Like, there's always a possibility that the world can end tomorrow, right? But yeah. So let's talk about something else that's pretty crazy. So I keep saying that, like, I'm cautiously bullish because of the adoption that we're seeing in the space, more people using the technology, and that value tends to accrue to the assets themselves, and that's one reason I'm so bullish on crypto. I'll put my money where my mouth is and give you an example of this. I'm talking about examples all the time, but here's something that just came up yesterday, which is actually the new crypto integrations that Twitter is talking about integrating. Okay, so Twitter to add Bitcoin Lightning tips and NFT authentication. So the Lightning tipping feature is pretty cool, but what I really want to focus on is the NFT authentication, because I think this is honestly a bigger deal than the Bitcoin Lightning tips. So, Twitter is talking about adding both of these things to their platform. The first being Bitcoin tipping via Lightning networks. What does this mean? Basically, you could send crypto to other users in the form of a tip, specifically with Bitcoin and specifically with the Lightning network. So what is that? Well, basically, Bitcoin transactions are kind of slow and expensive, kind of like ETH transactions, but even a little bit different. And so they kind of use a second thing called the Lightning network to help speed that process up and make it cheaper. Okay, and that's what we're talking about, integrating that so that you can tip other people. Now, the other thing is actual NFT avatar verification. And this, I think, is a bigger deal, and I'll explain why here in a minute, but let me talk about what it is. So if you've been on Twitter or any social media website, you see people using these, profile picture NFTs, maybe it's like a crypto punk or like some sort of cartoon monkey or ape, I should say, or a cartoon, any kind of animal, right? Dog, cat, whatever. A lot of those are NFTs, right? They're non-fungible tokens. They're images that are stored to a collectible token smart contract on the blockchain. And one of the use cases for these, of course, is social clout, but you can prove it. It's digital ownership. It's scarcity. You have it. If you have this, JPEG that's worth $1 million, you can prove it with your Twitter profile. It's sort of like an ultimate digital flex. And so when you have a world that's trending towards a metaverse where people are interacting more and more and more online, and you sort of have this thing that's replacing a blue check mark. So I don't know if you ever try to apply for a blue check mark on Twitter. It's absolutely insane. You might not ever even get it. And you have to give over all this personal information when you do that. So this replaces all that. As long as you own it, you can verify it on the blockchain. And then basically Twitter will, give you that verification that your profile that you actually own this NFT. And now this is kind of replaces your blue check mark on Twitter that you own this thing. So I think this is pretty cool. I think this is honestly a big deal for NFTs because what you can do with them, it's just increasing the status, okay? The fact that Twitter's now integrating this is a huge confidence for this tech in general, that it's validation for the NFTs. Of course, NFTs don't really need that much validation in my mind because people are spending millions of dollars on them, right? But it's additional validation that we can now have this benefit for them, and that's going to increase the utility of them, increase the network effect, increase the value of the tokens themselves. So, I think it's incredibly bullish. Now, why am I more excited about that than the Bitcoin tipping? I feel like, I've got some suspicions here about the Bitcoin tipping feature. I have some suspicions about this. I'm a little hesitant to bring up right now. There's speculations that could be way wrong. It just doesn't feel like that big of a deal. I feel like we've seen tipping play out in social networks where it has not really been that big a deal, been that sticky for users. I know Jack's a hardcore Bitcoiner, and not so much into Ethereum or other altcoins, or smart contract platforms, my knowledge. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe he actually is okay with smart contracts. Maybe he wants to bring them to Bitcoin. But he definitely does not praise other cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin that I've ever seen. And he's been pretty derogatory towards other cryptocurrencies. So it sort of feels like well, if we're going to support this NFT thing, then maybe we should support this Bitcoin thing, even if people don't use it, because most Bitcoiners at the end of the day aren't going to actually spend their Bitcoin. They're just going to hold on to it. So I don't know. That could be totally wrong. If somebody knows different, hey, Jack, if you want to come on the show, happy to have you. We can talk about it. So what do y'all think? Someone says he's definitely into Ethereum, but they just don't say it. Someone says now they can flex their ape in style. Yep, totally. Somebody says they don't trust anything that Twitter authenticates in the Twitter space. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying there. But I think the bigger deal here is it's going to spread awareness of NFTs, what they can do, which helps bring more people into crypto. Honestly, a lot of sort of the normie people that I know who don't really know anything about crypto, barely even really know what I do in crypto. Anytime we talk about it, they always ask about NFTs and never ask about DeFi. I mean, some people ask about like, hey, what crypto should I buy, or should I buy Ripple or something like that, right? Or should I buy Dogecoin? But like almost everybody asking about NFTs. This is almost like universal. So that's a huge deal that Twitter supports them. The other thing is it's paving the way for how NFTs can be integrated into other things. Twitter gives that legitimacy. If you see it take off with adoption, it actually gets network effects on Twitter. That paves the way for other social networks to essentially do the same type of thing. And now we have blockchain integrated widely throughout the internet. And it's paving the way for the metaverse, which I've talked about in a couple of videos on this channel, but basically this is a sort of disembodied internet, a next wave of the internet. Twitter is kind of our 2D metaverse right now that's backed by blockchain, and this kind of adds that additional layer to it. Do you have any mooncats? Yeah, I have some mooncats. We actually rescued some mooncats on this channel and made a video about it. Somebody says, why not ETH L2 tipping if they're already bringing NFT just because Jack is a Bitcoiner? I don't know. I mean, I could see lots of reasons why they wouldn't roll out ETH L2 tipping. I mean, L2 is still pretty young in its adoption. Lightning Network's been around for a while, even though it's kind of underutilized. So, I mean, in all fairness, like, I could see that. Like, it's like a lot of the L2 stuff's pretty beta. Not necessarily ready for prime time. Now, maybe later, I could definitely see that. But yeah, I do have some suspicion that's sort of like, well, if we're gonna include this NFT thing, we have to include a Bitcoin thing. I mean, who knows? Maybe it was backwards. Maybe it was we want to do Bitcoin just because we want to do Bitcoin, and we're gonna do Bitcoin even if nobody uses it. And then we see this opportunity to do this NFT thing that people really care about, so let's do that too. And we could do it because we did Bitcoin. I don't know. Like I said, somebody from Twitter wants to come on, clear the air. Let me know. Somebody says, I have a feeling Jack is going to fake us with a Bitcoin NFT platform. It might be. If he's waiting for Taproot. Somebody says, am I worried about the new regulations for crypto developers? So that's a good question. Short answer is not really. Okay. So if you're talking about the regulations in terms of maybe like what's going on with the infrastructure bill, well, number one, it's not been turned into a law yet. There's still time to figure that out. Number two, even if it does go into a law, doesn't mean it's going to stay a law. Number three, if we see the worst of the infrastructure bill, by the way, for context, people don't know what I'm talking about. Basically, the U.S. infrastructure bill has some language in it that's pretty cumbersome that talks about, who has to KYC people if they're going to, participate with blockchain. Like if you're a validator, if you're building a Dapp, that's what somebody's really concerned about is like if you build a smart contract, anybody uses your smart contract, would maybe have to be KYC because you're now a broker, and that makes it impossible for you to be a developer legally. So a couple of things there. Number one, it's still incumbent upon the IRS to enforce that type of thing. We have seen potentially some hints that even if it gets passed, like they're not going to enforce that particular aspect of it. That's the whole point. Is the law is ambiguous. Like it leaves. It's a gray area on what they're going to do, right? But we don't want there to be a gray area because at the end of the day, someone could exploit the gray area and then, impose it. So that's the other thing. The other thing is, even if they start cracking down on that type of stuff, what's gonna do is push a lot of it offshore. So you can still legally do it by operating in a different country. And so I think we're gonna see a lot of U.S. companies even have this model where like you got some sort of sister entity in a different country that deploys the contracts, right? But maybe you develop them inside the United States, or maybe maybe the company is completely based in another country, but it hires American citizens, American talent to do the building, and then maybe, some guy in a different country deploys it. Like building it versus running it's a totally different thing. Somebody says base your business in Estonia. Yeah, maybe. Somebody said, do you think the U.S. is going to be next? Regulators don't like crypto. I don't think U.S. is going to ban crypto. I really don't think that's going to happen. It's not really in the U.S. DNA to just like do that kind of thing. Somebody said, would Taproot render all altcoins unnecessary? No, not necessarily. Because of network effect. So which ZK rollups are you most excited about? Starkware versus ZK Sync 2.0 versus Hermes, etc., etc. So I don't have a super strong opinion on this. If I had to just pick one off the top of my head, I'd probably say ZK Sync, but that's not an official endorsement. It's not like a real hard and fast, thing there. It's just kind of a quick take. We can actually look at on the status of layer 2s, actually. Let's check on it. Because, initially at the gate, I was kind of favoring optimism, which I still am a very big proponent of optimism, but I'm actually pretty impressed about what's happened with Arbitrum. They were able to organize pretty quickly and get out there and get quite a bit of value locked pretty fast. So you can't ignore that. At the end of the day, we need a variety of L2s because you don't want L2s to become a new central point of failure, right, for blockchain. So if you don't know what L2 is, it's a layer 2 scaling solution where you build a second layer on top of a layer 1 blockchain, like Ethereum, for example, that can take a lot of the computational resources and put them in a second environment. And then you just offload all that activity because one of the biggest complaints about Ethereum is it's too slow, it's too expensive, and you can do some activity in the second environment called layer 2, and then eventually you can batch up all that activity and include it back onto the main chain. So that's what a roll-up is. Like you do all this, you do all these transactions, and you roll up the final result and settle it back on the main chain. So you don't want that because the layer 2 environment has some trade-offs, right? It is a central point of failure. Just like, Ethereum is a central point of failure, even though it is a decentralized blockchain. Like if Ethereum goes down in an aggregate sense, then that's the failure of the entire chain itself, which I don't think is going to happen. So because of the lifetime, the maximum security we've seen so far, like it hasn't happened yet. There's no good reason to think that it would happen. It's been operating for a very long time. But layer 2s are a different story, okay? So layer 2s are younger, all right, less proven. They can gain that trust over time and gain that decentralization in this aspect, right? But what you also don't want to do is basically layer 2 to get all this activity and then potentially morph into something else, like, become its own kind of monster, so to speak. So that's why you want some sort of decentralized alternative to have competition, because it can really help keep that in check. I do not have a Telegram channel, so people are asking about that in the thing. So if you see a Telegram channel at the time of recording this video, it's a scam. Yeah, so quick PSA. Like, I'm never going to ask you for money down in the YouTube comments. I don't DM people on social media. I don't DM people on Telegram. I don't have a Telegram channel. I don't have a Discord server. I don't have any of that stuff. We have a Slack channel for members of the Blockchain Master University. You'll specifically know if you're getting that because you get an invitation whenever you join. Do I think there'll be layer 3, 4, 5, 6? Not really. I think layer 2 will be. I mean, it depends on what you mean by that. Like, there is sort of the view of sort of like the internet of blockchains, like where you could like aggregate things across multiple chains. Like maybe you could see that as being part of it. We're gonna have plasma chains. We have sharding, like all that type of stuff. That's kind of a different concept. And with Ethereum 2.0, with sharding shipped in its full final form, we can actually increase the throughput of the base layer itself, which can actually help the scalability. Because a lot of people don't realize that proof of stake is not necessarily going to really increase Ethereum's scalability in the layer 1 sense. So when the merge happens, like Ethereum's not just going to magically get faster and cheaper to use. That's what the rollups are for. Or that's what the layer 2s are for. But we will actually get a scalability benefit whenever the next phase of Ethereum 2.0 arrives. And that's the other thing people understand is basically whenever the merge happens, probably in Q1 of 2022, that's not Ethereum 2.0 in its final form. It just means that proof of stake is turned on. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so that more people can learn about blockchain. And if you're as fast at this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? Well, you can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can show you how to become a blockchain master step-by-step from start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp.